Hey, welcome. So, if you're building any kind of connected product, you are facing what is probably one of the biggest, most critical decisions of the whole project. Which Internet of Things platform are you going to build on? This isn't a small thing. This choice will absolutely define your product's future, how much it costs, and how it scales. All right, let's dive in and really unpack the options.
This quote from an enterprise architect it really hits the nail on the head. That term, cloud ingress broker, it's just a fancy way of saying the front door, where all of your device data comes into the cloud. And think about it. Once you've built your entire house around a specific front door, trying to swap it out later, it is a total nightmare. This isn't just another choice, it's a foundational one.
So before we start throwing around brand names, let's just step back and remember what the goal is here. At the end of the day, it's all about this really simple but powerful flow. You've got your devices, the things, and they're generating all this data. The platform's job is to help you sift through that data to find patterns, to find meaning, to create insights. And those insights are what lead to actions, like optimizing a factory floor or sending a critical alert to a user.
Now, the moment you start looking for a platform, two names just pop up everywhere and dominate the entire conversation: AWS and Azure. They're the hyperscalers, right? They're the Goliaths of the cloud world, and both of them have these incredibly powerful IoT offerings that can handle literally millions of devices. For almost everyone, this is the default starting point.
But here is where it gets interesting. Choosing between them isn't as simple as just ticking off features on a checklist. As you're about to see, it's really about committing to two completely different ways of thinking, different philosophies about how your system should be built, how it should scale, and maybe most importantly, how you're going to get billed for it.
So let's put these two giants head to head. Let's really dig into those philosophical differences, and we'll start with something super fundamental: how they each handle the digital identity of a device.
Okay, so this right here shows a key difference in how each platform thinks about a device's digital copy. AWS uses something called device shadows. This is perfect for standalone devices. Think of a single smartwatch. It's simple, it's clean, it's modular. Azure, on the other hand, uses device twins, which are organized in a graph. Now, this is an absolute superpower if you're modeling a really complex system, like all the sensors in a smart building, because it actually understands the relationships between all of them.
And now, let's talk about the most crucial point for many people: the money. And on this, they are polar opposites. AWS is purely metered. You pay for exactly what you use, down to the message. That's amazing if your devices are sitting idle most of the time. The catch? A single buggy device stuck in a transmit loop can give you a terrifying bill shock at the end of the month. Azure is tiered. You buy a block of capacity up front. This gives you super predictable costs, which is fantastic for high-traffic devices, but you're always running the risk of paying for capacity you never actually use.
So this all brings up a really critical question. These massive enterprise-grade platforms are built for hyperscale. But what if you're not a Fortune 500 company? What if you're a startup, or a solo developer, or a small business where what you really value is speed and simplicity over having a million complex configuration options? And this is exactly where a different kind of player comes into the picture. A challenger that isn't built to compete with the giants on their terms, but instead to serve a totally different audience. So let's talk about Favoriot.
See, Favoriot's entire mission is different from the get-go. It's designed from the ground up for small to medium-sized businesses, for developers, and even for the education sector. The key words you need to remember here are ease of use, accessibility, and getting your project off the ground fast without needing an entire team of certified cloud architects.
So how does a smaller platform even begin to compete? Well, not by being bigger, but by being smarter and way more focused. This is David's slingshot. These are the specific, targeted advantages that can make all the difference. And here they are, those targeted advantages. We're going to dive into that first one, flexible deployment, in just a second. But look at the others. A simple API so you can develop faster. Affordable pricing that gets rid of that bill shock anxiety. And really crucial business features like local support and white labeling. These are things that show they're trying to be a partner, not just a utility you pay for. And this right here, this is a huge differentiator. AWS and Azure, they want you on their public cloud. That's their business model. But what if your company has really strict data privacy rules? Or what if you need to run in a remote location with spotty internet? Favoriot offers an enterprise version that you can run on your own servers, on-premise. That level of control is an absolute game changer for so many industries.
And let's circle back to pricing one more time. Instead of giving you these complex calculators with dozens of variables you have to guess, Favoriot really aims for a straightforward, cost-effective model. For a startup or a small business, that predictability is worth its weight in gold. It means you can focus on building your product, not on auditing your cloud bill every single month.
Okay, so we've looked at the giants and we've looked at the challenger. How in the world do you actually make a decision? Let's break it all down into a simple, actionable guide.
Think of this table as your ultimate cheat sheet. It's pretty clear, right? If you're a small business or developer and your priorities are ease of use and flexible deployment, you should be looking at Favoriot. If you're building event-driven consumer gadgets and you really need those cutting-edge MQTT features, AWS is probably your go-to. And if you're in a high-throughput industrial world and your whole company lives in the Microsoft ecosystem, Azure is practically tailor-made for you.
Let's make it even more specific. So you should choose AWS if your product is all about reacting to events instantly, like a smart doorbell. Or if you absolutely need the latest MQTT protocol features for some advanced firmware you're writing. And of course, if your devices send data in irregular bursts and paying for idle time just makes no financial sense.
And you should choose Azure if your devices are more like industrial sensors, just constantly streaming a predictable flow of data. Your main challenge is modeling complex, hierarchical systems, like a whole factory floor, and your business stakeholders live and breathe in Microsoft tools like Power BI. The integration there is seamless.
And finally, you should choose Favoriot if you are that startup, that small business, or that developer who just needs to move fast. You need the option to deploy on your own servers for control or for compliance reasons. A predictable, affordable bill is way more important to you right now than planning for 1 billion devices, and you want the ability to brand the platform as your own and sell it to your customers.
So we end on this question. The cloud giants, AWS and Azure, are incredibly powerful platforms, but they are not the only answer. What this analysis really shows is that sometimes the right choice isn't about picking the biggest tool, but about picking the tool that's perfectly shaped for the job you need to do right now. Thanks for watching.